Welcome to the second of a three-part video series on web accessibility. This video will focus on how to make a more accessible website. If you're using an online tool to create your site, such as Google or Weebly, make sure that you're starting from a design or template that is already accessible. If you don't know how to test for this, watch the video 3 and you'll find out more tips on that. Once you have an accessible foundation, the rest is up to you to build. When I start websites, I want to figure out what the purpose of the site is, who the audience is, and what that audience will hope to take out of their experience with the content. There's a lot that goes into making things accessible. This is a short presentation, so I encourage you to go out. There's a lot of resources, especially webaim.org, but there's so much stuff out there. Learn and explore. All right, content structure. Headings are, to me, the same as like an outline structure. So you have a title and your Roman numerals, your alphabet, your capital letters, numbers, lowercase letters. The same thing. Your H1 or heading 1 is your title, and it's the title on the page and for the page. So whatever you have in your H1 should also appear in either your head content in the HTML or in the title field of your page properties. After your title, your Roman numeral or heading 2 is next. And after that can be another heading 2, or it can go deeper into a heading 3. From a 3, you can go to a 2, have another 3, or a 4. As long as you're going deeper in the content, you need to go sequentially through the headings. But you can always return to a higher level, topic level. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, but you should not do 1, 2, 4, just because it looks better or whatever. There's different styles for the different headings, and they mean things to people looking at the website and scrolling through. We read headlines, we read headings, but for a screen reader, headings are also one of the ways that they navigate through content to know what's worth listening to. Tables used to be that's how we laid out a page, and that's how we could figure out what goes where. But we've evolved to using styles for that, and tables should only be used to display data. And it's important when you have data that you assign header, rows, and or columns. It takes that one field, that $3,000 or something, and gives it meaning. Instead of just being $3,000, it's Danny's sales in August, something like that. Putting context around that otherwise random value. All right, alternative text. Alt text is basically the text equivalent to anything that's presented that isn't text. So if you have an image, you need to have an alt attribute to it. If it's decorative, it can be empty, but anything that is supposed to convey meaning or add to the context of the page needs to have a short descriptive alt tag that lets people know what a sighted viewer would see. Make sure not to include too much information. 1, because it needs to be short, but 2, you don't want to provide any more information than what a sighted visitor would ascertain from that picture. If you have a video, it needs to be captioned, and if you've got the captioning, a transcript isn't much harder to do, or if you have a transcript, it's easier to do captions, but transcript is optional on some accessibility guidelines. Music or audio files need to have transcript. If you have a chart or a graph, while it might be the same file type as what you consider images, they convey much more. And so it's important that you have alternative text either in line in the page or provide a link to go to say, here is a text equivalent to what this chart is showing you. Because it might just be noticing that something is a normal distribution. It might not need any more than that. But if you actually want people to be able to say what data points are, you want to be able to spell all that out. Links. To have a link be meaningful, Basically, I want you to think about if you took that link out of that page, out of context, would it still make sense? So does it tell you what web page you're opening or what page or section of a website you're going to? If it's a PDF, does it tell you it's a PDF? If you're opening in a different window, does it say that? Basically, you want to avoid the click here or read more phrases. When we don't click everything anymore, we tap our smartphones and our tablets. But click here gets repetitive and can take away from what you're trying to actually get people to go do. If you want to show a URL, if it's a short URL, not a tiny URL, but a short URL that is readable and makes sense, go ahead and use it. But if you have a longer one or it has nonsensical elements to it, it's much better to give a text-based link that tells you where you're going and then provide that URL in the text after the link. If you have any cutting edge technology that you want to incorporate, make sure that you have wide browser support, or at least know that your audience, your primary audience, has the ability to use that technology. Likewise, if you're using something like Flash, realize that you're missing out on all the iPhone and iPad visitors that would come. Color is important, not only on the web, but think PowerPoints and everything else. Anywhere that you use color, which is pretty much everything, it's important to make sure that you're not using the color as the sole means of communicating. So like you can't say press the red button for this and the green button for that. Somebody who's red-green colorblind would see gray buttons and not know what you're talking about. So it's important to put text with the color or have shapes that are very intuitive to know what you're doing. It's important that you have enough contrast between your background and your text. There's a lot of tools out there that will help you pick palettes of your colors to figure out which colors should go on what and what can't go on. Some of colors can be used in headings, bigger text, but not in smaller text. And so the NC State's color palette tool is nice because you put all the colors that you want to use and it tells you what kind of combinations you can use. There's a lot of browser add-ins that are good. We'll kind of get into some of those in the next video. And WebAIM has a color contrast checker. So if you know what your background is and your foreground or your text color, you can plug those in and it'll tell you whether they meet accessibility guidelines or not, and gives you an option to lighten or darken your colors to try to find that right mix. All right, thank you. And as always, please feel free to tweet to me or send me an email if you have questions. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.